it's your favorite nurse Jasmine, and I'm back today with another video. So I am currently on call, and I figured it would be a really good time to answer and address some questions that you guys have been having about bonus shifts. So this video is going to kind of be like how you can make the most money without being a travel nurse. I know a lot of people are so like adamant and like, I gotta be a travel nurse. Travel nurses make the most money. When in some cases that is true, but it's not always the case. And being like staff nurse, there is ways for you to maximize the amount of money that you get paid. So I'm going to break all that down in this video. But before I do that, I do want to go on a little bit of a rant, if you will, because money is such a like sensitive topic that everybody get all in their feels about. And this is why I really don't like talking about like how much money I make or how much money nurses make. I did do a video on like what's the standard kind of median range for new grad nurses, and it was like if y'all go back and read some of the comments, it is just a mess. And I honestly just stopped responding to people's comments because people just don't understand generalization. I'm not saying every nurse will make this amount of money, and I guess that's what a lot of people took from that video. Or they came on the back end and was like, well, my cousin is a nurse, or my sister was a nurse, my brother's uncle's cousin sister's baby mama was a nurse, and when she first started she was making $50 an hour. Or girl, if I became a nurse, I am not accepting anything in the $20 range. It's like, it's really easy to say what you will and will not accept when you're not even in the field. And also, I was trying to explain that everybody makes money different ways, especially depending on where you live. If you're living in California or New York or like Florida, those are places that generally make the most money, and because the cost of living is so expensive. You're working at a hospital in a podunk town with like 5-bed ICU and a 6-bed ER. You're not going to be making $50 an hour. I'm sorry to tell you, but you won't. Versus if you're at a magnet hospital and it is like a 30-bed ICU and there's 6 different ICUs in your hospitals, and you have doctors and residents and nurse practitioners and all these other ancillary staff, you have generally a better chance of making $50 an hour there. But I'm not trying to tell everybody like what kind of money they should accept or whatever, but just know if you are a new grad and you try to go in telling any hospital that you want $50 an hour when you have no credibility, no experience, you have nobody to vouch for you in the medical field, honey, they will not hire you. So good luck with that. I just want to make this PSA. Not everybody is going to make 100 grand being a nurse. Is it possible? Absolutely yes. But I just want to kind of, again, give you guys a generalization of the different ways you can make a lot of money being a nurse. Now that I'm done with my rant, let's just go ahead and get into this video. I'm just going to break down a couple of different ways that you can get paid. Of course, when you become a nurse, or if you've been a nurse for a little bit, you know that you're going to automatically get your base pay. That is how much your set rate is an hour, whether it's $20 or if it's $60 an hour. That's what you get no matter what. That is something that can also be negotiated when you are looking for a new job. When you have a lot of experience, of course, you can negotiate that money to be a little bit more, versus if you don't have a lot of experience, you kind of got to go with what they will offer you. But then you also start talking differentials. Differentials are basically a way that you can get extra money depending on which shift you work. If you're working night shift, a lot of people don't like to do night shifts, so they do offer a bigger differential for night shift. It can be anywhere between $2.50 to $5-6 an hour per night. So say if you are getting $20 an hour, but then you work night shift and they're offering you $6 an hour, you end up making $26 an hour working a night shift. Some hospitals also offer a evening differential for the day shifters. So it usually starts around 1 o'clock until 7 o'clock. Some hospitals do 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock. and basically they'll give you like an extra $1 or $2 for that evening shift, unless you have split shifters, which means a lot of ERs, they'll do like 11 to 11 or 1 to 1, and it just all depends on what your hospital offers. But usually night shift gets the biggest differentials just because some people just don't like doing it. Some hospitals also offer weekend differentials, which means that you'll get like an extra $2 to $3 an hour for picking up a weekend shift. Some weekends are mandatory. Not every hospital that I have worked at has made weekends mandatory. Some people actually like to do night shift and weekends only because you get the most bang for your buck. So you can get an extra $6 for working nights, and then you can also get like an extra $4 for working weekends only. So that way you are getting an additional $10 an hour. So now your $20 an hour just became $30 an hour. That is generally the first way you can make more money than what your base pay is. So the next thing we're going to talk about is sign-on bonuses. I am a big fan of sign-on bonuses simply because we're military and I move around a lot, and it actually helps when it comes to like moving expenses. So when you are applying to your job, you have a recruiter, or if you're talking to human resource, you always want to ask them, because sometimes they will not tell you, but you want to ask them, hey, are you guys offering a sign-on bonus? Generally, and I'm going to say generally, sign-on bonuses are offered to higher acuity specialties. So that is like labor and delivery, mother baby, ER, ICU, OR. They are generally the ones who get more of the sign-on bonuses. Not saying that med-surg, tele, or pediatrics don't offer sign-on bonuses, but it's a little harder to get a sign-on bonus if your specialty is not of higher acuity. But make sure that you ask. Never be afraid to ask. This is about your money, so you want to make sure to ask as many questions as you can, even if you are still in the interview phase. Ask them, are you offering a sign-on bonus? So the next thing we're going to talk about is your actual schedule. Most nurses do full-time, so that is 3 days on, 4 days off. Usually it does not mean 3 days in a row on and 4 days off. It's kind of a mixture of maybe you work one day, you're off one day, you work the next 2 days, and you're off 3 days, and then it kind of starts over from there. But generally, most people like to do 4 days on, 3 days off. Some people even like to do 5 days on, 2 days off, because then you start bumping into overtime. Overtime means time and a half. So now your $30 an hour can be bumped up to $45 an hour, depending on how many days overtime you actually work. The next thing you can do is choose to work an extra holiday. So now most people are going to be like, oh, Jasmine, I don't even like working the holidays that I'm required to work, because generally hospitals will make you work one major holiday, one minor holiday, dependent on your staff ratio or your size of your unit. Now, if you are working in like a 10-bed ICU, most likely you'll have to do 2 major holidays and 2 minor holidays. I actually don't mind doing certain holidays because you get holiday pay. So it's like if I'm going into overtime, I'm going into my weekends, I'm also working nights, now I get holiday pay. That's just more money for my check. If you have a holiday that doesn't really mean a lot to you, so I know there's a girl, she's a Jehovah's Witness, she does not celebrate Christmas, so she actually works Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and she gets paid a good amount, especially if she goes into overtime for that week. Okay, so now let's talk about bonus shifts, because everybody is like, what is a bonus shift? Is that like an overtime shift? Bonus shift is kind of like overtime, but it is when your unit is very short staffed and they don't have the employees to adequately staff the hospital census every single night. So what they'll do, they'll tell you, once you have passed your actual days that you're required to work, if you pick up a day or 2, we will give you those as bonus shifts, which means you do get your time and a half for being in overtime, but they'll also give you a large lump sum of money each shift. So say if I'm part-time, so I only work 36 hours a pay period, but I generally do 48 hours a pay period, which means I do 2 shifts a week. And anytime over my 48 hours, I get bonus pay. So if I pick up an extra shift, so if I'm doing a full-time shift 3 days a week, I'll get my time and a half, and then if the bonus pay for that week is $250, that's an additional $250 on my check in combination with my time and a half. Bonus shifts are usually done when census is really high and there's a large employee turnover. So a lot of people are leaving. Your unit is full every single day and you don't have the staff, so they will give you incentives to come in and work extra by giving you a large lump sum of money along with your time and a half, along with your differential, along with whatever else you got going on. A lot of times bonus shifts are offered, like I said, when there is a large turnover or during flu pneumonia season. So this past flu season, oh my gosh, it was so bad. Everybody was popping positive for flu A and B. So census was always full. Now there are some like winter contracts that will be done, which is basically the same as bonus shifts, but I have seen actual contracts where your regular staff, you work your 3 days that week, and if you work a 4th day, every single paycheck they'll give you an extra $1,000, and those are generally called winter contracts. Is it always $1,000? No, but say if your check is usually $2,500, you sign your winter contract, then every check you will get like an additional $1,000. So now your $2,500 check becomes a $3,500 check. Winter contracts are sometimes a little tricky because if you miss one shift, you don't get the money. You have to always be careful that when you are signing contracts, you read the fine print. Okay? Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about is hospital incentives. Now, a lot of hospitals will actually give you tuition reimbursement. It's usually a contract, but sometimes it's not. For instance, say if you have just signed on with a new hospital as a staff employee, make sure you ask about tuition reimbursement or tuition assistance. Even though it's not money that is coming directly to you for you to go and shop with or buy stuff with or pay bills with, getting those student loans paid off is very, very important. Hospitals will have it to where for every year that you work, they will either pay a large lump sum of your tuition or they'll give you a percentage of what your student loans are. For example, say if you have $10,000 worth of student loans, girl, I wish. You work for this hospital for a year, they'll say, since your student loans is currently $10,000, you've worked with us for a year, we'll give you $6,000 towards your student loans, or we'll give you $2,000 towards your student loans. Some hospitals may say, oh, you have a $10,000 student loans, we'll give you 25% of what your student loan is. Some hospitals also do tuition assistance. So if you are going back to school, they'll say, if you go to school to become a CRNA or a nurse practitioner, or you are doing administration, if you can guarantee that you'll work for us for 2 years, we'll pay your entire tuition. So make sure you are asking those questions because you want to try to get the biggest bang for your buck. Make sure that you are getting every incentive that you can. You're making the most money that you can because ultimately the hospital needs you. The hospital needs nurses. They need RTs. They need all of these people to keep their hospital afloat. So you want to make sure that they're giving you every single thing that they can in order to keep you at their hospital, because I can guarantee you there's always a competitor hospital that is willing to one-up the next one. So also never be afraid to tell them, well, I got an offer from ABCD hospital and they're offering me this amount. Can you match it or can you give me more? It's all about negotiation, but you need to have experience. You know, don't go in as a new grad saying, if you're not giving me $60 an hour and paying off my student loans, then I'm not going to work for you. Because I can guarantee you that you will not be hired and they will hire someone else. And so that is it when it comes to how nurses can make the most money and you know, potentially make over $100 grand a year. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to leave it below in the comment box. Make sure you follow me on Snapchat and on IG. I'm on IG a lot more. And if you have not checked out my online store, make sure to click the link below or this little card up here and go purchase from Nurse Behavior. And until the next video, I'll talk to all of you huns later. Bye. Bye.